Hi, everybody. I'm Andy Wike, and I'm on location here at Peterson of Dublin on Nassau Street, joined by the Honorable Glen Whelan.
Hey, everybody.
So while we're here, we thought we'd just go ahead and also talk about the Pipe of the Year for this year. So Pipe of the Year is probably Peterson's most anticipated annual limited edition release. I particularly love this series because I think it is where Peterson really gets to flex its creative muscles and really gets to try out some stuff, whether that's looking at old archives and old catalogs and reviving shapes that maybe haven't been seen in quite some time, or in the case of this year, doing something completely new. So this year's Pipe of the Year is a full bent Rhodesian system pipe. Glenn, can you tell us a little bit about the idea here, maybe how you guys approached handling this year's Pipe of the Year, then we'll sort of dive into the specifics.
I think, as you said, the Pipe of the Year is the iconic release. It's the one that every Peterson fan waits for every year, and last few years we've reintroduced old shapes, iconic shapes as well, that have fell off the shape chart. So this year we went with a brand new shape, and the system is iconic for Peterson as well, so we felt, why not add a brand new system shape? Two birds with one stone almost.
That's right,
so the idea came about, it was just one of those things where I felt like Peterson was missing a Rhodesian within the system line. And I talked with Giacomo Penzo, our pipe specialist at Peterson. I said, Giacomo, I would like a system full bent Rhodesian. And he went away to his workshop and he constructed some samples from paper first, and made some bowls for us, and we all sat down together, Josh Sykes and I, Jonathan as well, and then Giacomo of course, and we loved the design concept that he came up with.
I actually saw some of those early sketches too, and it was really cool to see how Jack was thinking about this new shape and how informed by the patent era.
I think
it was.
Giacomo understands the Peterson identity really well. He's so creative, but still fits in with how Peterson should look. We spoke previously, and we said that it's almost like we're on an archaeological dig, uncovering this shape that we never knew Peterson was missing.
It was just lost, right?
Lost in
you
the
discovered
mine
a new species.
A
new species of patent pipe.
And I think it fits into it's modern now by today's standards, but it still wouldn't look out of place in a catalog from 150 years ago.
I mean, if I were to see that silhouette in the 1896 catalog, I would have been totally.
Charles Peterson.
100%. Charles made that. But it's super interesting. But so I saw the sketches. I saw some of the early blocks.
You also got really lucky. You got to see some in production as well.
That's true. Yeah. It's been a great trip. I'm really loving it so far. So we saw that, but I think what was really interesting was, from the initial sketch to the drawing to some of the sample blocks to the first finished prototype that you showed me. All of that really came together, but then you guys had to make some adjustments after you reviewed it and stuff.
Of course, it's very hard to get it perfect on the first go.
100%.
So with Giacomo, the first sample that he did looked really well. We all thought, that's it.
That's the shape.
And then it was only when we put it into full R&D in the factory. And when we went to bore out the bowl for the system well, is when we realised that we need a bit more length on the shank to accommodate the system reservoir, because it's vital. It's not a system without that reservoir.
That's not something that you want to,
skip.
Force. 100%. A system pipe without the moisture reservoir is not a system pipe, folks.
And then also because of it's a deluxe mount this year, it has to be able to house the condenser as well.
Oh, that's true.
Also adds more length to the tenon.
Totally. But even then, you're talking about one iteration? So Jack made the shape. You guys looked at it. We tried the R&D, and it was okay, we need to make the shank a little bit longer.
Two takes.
Two takes. And an awesome shape that could have existed 130 years ago.
If only we could do these videos in 2 takes.
Right. It's We'll get there, Glenn.
Yeah.
But
then once we get to that point, we have to then go to Jason, because the silver work is very important on Peterson pipes. So Jason, especially on a deluxe mount, because he has to turn the silver over and it has to be a very flat mount. So there's issues there potentially where it just might not work on some shapes.
Yeah.
Thankfully, all the stars aligned once again, and we were just straight through. The most distinguishing feature that I love about this year's pipe, though, is the stem.
Yes.
So the deluxe system is almost iconic with the saddle mouthpiece.
Yeah.
And I think this tapered stem is so elegant on this shape.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Yeah, and I think it also, like, that's really more of a throwback to the early catalog shapes,
exactly,
too.
Yeah.
That sort of very discernible taper.
Yeah, it just hasn't.
It follows the graduated bore better too.
It just has a beautiful flow.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
all the way, and then even how the stem channels into the shank.
Yes,
and then you get that cheeking on the end of the bowl where the transition line is.
100%. Yeah, the lines of that pipe is so lovely. Like, it's got this almost like swan neck curve, you know. But it's so muscular.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
but well balanced as well.
Yeah.
Like, typically of Peterson, it's well balanced.
Totally. Yeah. You never really see it. It's just like, giant bowl hanging off this little stem or whatever. But
and that cheeking was one of the things that we needed to make sure we retained in the R&D phase, because that's part of the shape.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
where you get the transition from bowl to shank.
Yeah, and in the bead lines as well.
The bead lines, the iconic
precise.
Peterson bead lines, very clean and crisp.
And I think that works really well too with such a rotund shape like that. It really offsets it.
It almost feels like it needs the lines.
Totally. Yeah, but it's a really lovely shape. I'm super impressed with how quickly you guys developed that. I mean, I think it just goes to show you that the guys who work in the factory are artisans. These are craftsmen. And they take their art and their craft very seriously. And so when a challenge like, let's create a new patent pipe for 2024, I mean,
that fits with the Peterson heritage.
I mean, what a remarkable way for these guys to leave a lasting impression on the legacy of Peterson.
It's testament to them, their understanding of the brand, and Peterson has seen evolution in its history, but the guys understand today's market as well as what was popular 50, 100, 150 years ago.
That's true. Yeah, and that's, just speaking sort of more generally here, that is one of the things that I've always really appreciated about Peterson, is that if you look at the shape and you look at the engineering, nothing has changed.
No, you saw the machinery even firsthand. They're more modern, but the functionality, all the jobs they do is the same.
I mean, I was
hand operated.
I was looking at some advertisements from the early 20th century for Peterson. It was like 1896. Charles Peterson developed the best smoking pipe in the world.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
we could say that today as well.
I mean, if you look at the actual system design, nothing has changed.
Nope.
Since Charles Peterson finalized his last patent. But what has changed is we've evolved the execution of that.
Yeah.
So modern artisanal sandblasting, really, really, really nice stain work.
Yeah.
The contrast rustication, all of these are iconic Peterson staples, but the way that they're executed is so precise.
Yeah. There's an awful lot of care. You met and spoke with most of the guys in the factory, and they're all really passionate about what they do.
100%. So it's really cool to see a brand new shape that fits in with the sort of canon of Peterson lore.
Yeah.
Executed with modern finishing, and sort of like it's a patent shape for a new generation of Peterson
exactly.
smokers, so really excited to see this come out. As all Pipe of the Years do, this will be available in a wide variety of finishes.
Yeah, in very limited quantities, 1,100 pieces.
1,100 pieces
this year
worldwide.
Worldwide. Yeah.
So that's incredible. But yeah, you can expect some really nice sandblasts. You can expect some iconic contrast rustications, terracottas, and then Glenn, you mentioned we might even have some special
may
stuff.
Have a surprise.
May have a surprise
or two.
Yeah. So
we like to leave something for a surprise for people.
That's right. Yeah, a little mystery never.
Exactly.
Hurt. Yeah.
Never hurt anybody.
Yeah. But yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So I think that sort of wraps up Pipe of the Year. But thank you so much for talking to us about it.
Pleasure as always.
We're really excited to see this one happen, and I think it's a really good forecast for what Peterson's going to be able to do in the next several years as well.
And just so like the consumer, one of the big questions like I would get from consumers is when do you start thinking about new pipes? So Pipe of the Year this year, like when did you start thinking about this idea? So usually the release of, say, this year's Pipe of the Year is an alarm bell for us to start planning for next year.
Sure.
So we're already planning because next year is a big year for Peterson, 160 years. So consumers can expect some nice surprises. We're already working really hard. Giacomo's doing the R&D stages already, so something for the consumers to think about and put on their wish list for next year.
That's a good point. Yeah. So the answer to your question for when do you start thinking about pipes is more like when do you stop thinking about pipes?
Well, that's it. Yeah, we're never not thinking about new pipes or new releases.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Glenn, for talking to us about the Pipe of the Year. These will be available in a wide variety of shapes and or wide variety of finishes. I'm really excited to see this new patent pipe for 2024.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.